What is up, everybody? I'm here with Chris Coffee. He is an amazing dude. He's been in Veve for so long and so many other damn NFT projects. He's a Web3 guru, and he is also the head of content marketing at Ninja Alerts. He's got his own coffee business. He's an entrepreneur. He's just a super intelligent guy. We've been meaning to do this forever. So thanks for coming on.
Yeah, Chad, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Man, it's good to see you, dude. And I've been watching your Twitter account recently, and I just keep seeing all these different sales you're making on OpenSea. I see like 5 ETH here, 2 ETH there. I'm like, what is this guy doing? You need to tell me your secrets here.
Yeah, man, I'm trying to take advantage of this like mini little bull run that we're getting, Like I don't know. I'm kind of a skeptic of how long it's gonna last, but like taking profits while we have it.
It's smart, man. And I think that's a lot of the things people are saying too with Veve right now is because we don't have the cash out. Like currently, a lot of people are thinking this is kind of a bull run, but I'm like, just be careful, man, because it seems as though these prices are heading a little bit back down. But
Mm.
there's a bit of a pump, maybe 20%, 30%.
Yeah, and that's pretty much the entire market, like including like the rest of the NFT market. It's honestly been a lot more than 20%. So it does
Yeah.
correlate with the rest of the market. And then like we got the CPI last week that ended up, being a little bit bullish. So as soon as that happened, Bitcoin went from like 18K to 20K. But there's still a lot of uncertainty around the corner, so I'm not like super bullish on it. So I'm just trying to like take profits while I can.
Yeah, that's smart, man. And when do you think that next cycle is going to be? Like late 2024 for a bull run, or like what is your estimate?
My like my estimate, basically based on people that are way smarter than I am with macro
Yeah.
conditions, and obviously there's like a lot of factors, is that the halving's going to happen in 2024, but people are going to try to front run it towards the end of 2023. So if that
Mm,
all happens and like we don't go into war or we don't have another like black swan event, I'm thinking like late 2023 we'll start to see a pump in the market that might not come back down and might eventually send us to the bull run in 2024. But that again, that's just based on like people that are a lot smarter than I am explaining
yeah.
it to me in dumbed down ways that make sense to me. And this is like, I got in at 2020, so like 2021 was my first like bull run. So like I'm definitely no expert in any by any extent in this. But that makes sense to me, if the market is looking healthier in 2024.
Yeah.
I see it time and time again, people front run the conditions. And so I can definitely see even later 2023 being pretty healthy market.
Yeah, that's exciting, right? So, I mean, I kind of was estimating another full year ahead, but I'm like, if we can get there by the end of 2023, like that would be exciting because I think that a lot of people are losing faith right now. And the issue that people have is that once everything kind of goes to shit, that's when they start selling things off. And it's like
Yeah.
not being calculated, being emotional, right? So, you know, are you seeing this trend on Veve, or is this kind of like in all your other NFT projects that you're invested in as well? People are starting to kind of like lose faith, or are you seeing that, people are still seeing that long-term vision, or what's your take on that?
Yeah, I think it's as far as area that's left, it's pretty healthy,
Yeah.
compared to like 2017 when like just like the really early tech guys were involved with like the bull run. Like there's actually like a lot of people on VV and just NFT Twitter in general, Instagram, like the traction's growing and then it's been getting a lot of attention. Granted, some of it's negative, but like the whole Logan Paul crypto zoo, like obviously that like wasn't like good attention, but it's still attention that broke the internet. It trended on YouTube for like 3 days. The Trump NFTs, again,
Yeah.
not the best attention because it was a little gimmicky, but ultimately still attention for NFTs. So like NFTs are just more relevant in like day-to-day conversation. So like I just don't see us obviously getting as low as like 2017 unless again there's like a
Mhm.
black swan event. And I think overall like everyone who's here is here for the long term because I mean it's we're coming up on like 9 months of bear, like pretty harsh bear, what since like
Right.
March of last year. So everybody who's here like is obviously here for a long run, and there's a lot of community and a lot of people still there. So
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. That's a great explanation. And one thing I keep finding, man, is like everybody loves a shiny new toy. So every time there's a new project, things are really hype. Everyone estimates this could be crazy. They buy a bunch, and then they kind of realize after a few weeks, hey, maybe this is not what I turned out to be. Sell it
yeah.
off. And it seems to be a trend, not only just within the Vv app, but like almost everywhere, unless something holds like real significance or there's a movement behind it. But it's very rare that that happens. But the one thing I keep saying to people is, with NFTs, we can use it for social capital. We could trade it
Hmm.
instantaneously. You could do it. You could have a story behind it. You can use it for branding. There's so many things that you could use it for rather than these physical things. But it's interesting because it's still hard for me to predict what the significance is over like 20 years or over 10 years, and that's like the thing. It seems to be like a lot of flash in the pan right now. And that's why I think there's a big, a lot of people are kind of deterred from entering. But what's your view on that? Do you think that's accurate? Or do you think like they have a bigger purpose?
Yeah, I think they have a bigger purpose, and there's gonna be just so many different use cases for it. Like, I
Yeah.
think a lot of NFTs, like you said, social capital or social status, like you're wearing a Nike hat right now, and like Nike's a
Yeah.
good brand. Like, but let's even say it was like Gucci or something like that. Like, basically, you wear that with the intention of like not the sole purpose, but part of you is like, I want people to know that I have money, that wear Gucci. And maybe
Right.
part of it's just because I like nice things. I think a lot of digital assets are going to be like that. When you have verification of your assets, being able to show them off, whether that be AR or VR or just online to people who understand, it's kind of like I have money or I appreciate nice things, or even as simple as like, local coffee opposed to like Starbucks or whatever, like letting
Yeah.
people know that I appreciate like quality, whatever it is that's for me. So I think digital assets will like show ownership of like nice things, expensive things, board apes being a big example of that. Even items on Vivi, I mean, like you have like MC1, Secret Rare, like you probably have money or you're there really early, stuff like that. But I also think like gaming's gonna be huge. I come from a gaming background. There's a lot of like pretty nice gaming companies like coming into the space, and I think we'll see more and more. So being able to incorporate in a way with gaming is gonna like keep it relevant.
Mm,
And then I think NFTs will just be used in like very like normal ways that aren't gonna like have nothing to do with money or finances, like ownership of house deeds. We've already seen a house sell in South Carolina on the blockchain, and it was as simple as like swapping that ownership from one person to another.
crazy.
There not the piles and piles of paperwork or anything like that. It's on chain. You know who owns it. So it's just like we'll see it in everyday life like that, but that's not really a value proposition. I think like gaming and then like luxury goods,
Mm.
tons of private clubs. Like I think a lot of that's gonna kind of keep NFTs relevant.
Wow, man. This is why I wanted to have you on. You got such a wide array of the space, of the Web3 space. I love that. So, what are the chances that some of these like digital collectibles can actually be integrated into gaming and largely the metaverse? Because I feel like that's where we're going to see the real money. It's like almost like if you
Mhm.
could have like a Bugatti, but you're using that as like your avatar. And like, let's just say, like, I always harp about this, but like a Miles Morales SR, using it in like a new, Web3 game,
Yeah.
or using it to walk around the metaverse and go shopping. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what are like to me, that's where we're gonna see the crazy price points. But I'm just like, I don't know how likely that is because we talked about like licensors. I don't know if I told you this, but I did an interview with Zynga for a director of marketing there. And the one guy said to me, like, the licensors are so crazy about how, you can or cannot do something with something like that. The chances of these being interoperable amongst different
Mhm.
spaces seems challenging, right? And then when you go to different places, then it's like a new script, new coding, new software engineering behind it.
Yeah.
So, I think it'll happen maybe eventually, but what do you think about that?
This is a side question, but did Zynga
Yeah.
drop Pirate Nation, or did they have anything to do with Pirate Nation? Do you know?
I'm
Pirate
not
Nation was an
sure.
NFT gaming project recently that did pretty well. But
Really, eh?
I think Zynga was behind it, but maybe it was some other well-known company.
So
Um,
the guy that I was like the head of it was Matt Wolf.
okay.
And then he basically like what happened was is like I never heard back from them, and then all of a sudden I found out that like they weren't moving forward because I think that's at the same time. It was like Feb or no, it's probably like March to April. I feel like that's when things were starting to kind of taper out a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, and they never told me it was confidential. So I just had to give I was just thinking about like different, I think it might have been to do with one of their racing games. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh, to get back to the original question, for me, it's just the integration with, like, this big IP.
Mhm.
Personally, this is not a popular opinion, I guess a hot take.
Yeah.
I would almost rather Disney launch a successful metaverse and be able to, like, obviously just bring your VV assets to that metaverse. I mean, obviously, at the end of the day, yeah, I wish VVverse was like the biggest metaverse, and that would be the
Right.
biggest bull case. But at the end of the day, if Disney does launch their own metaverse and they do their own thing, and then you could pull your VV assets into that Disney metaverse, to me, that would be a huge value proposition because in that metaverse, they could launch their own games. Avatar, again, social capital, as
Right.
you said, like you're walking around with one of those like few Miles Morales secret rares, and it's your actual avatar, and people are like, "Oh, that's sick." And obviously there would be this understanding of like that was the first one, and that's the only
Mhm.
one. I mean, not the only one, but the only one that looks like that that's in this metaverse. I think that's a huge bull case towards like value there, and then like being able to use that certain Spider-Man for it's hard to say use that certain Spider-Man for certain games, but I guess that certain Spider-Man skin for certain games because they wouldn't want to like exclude somebody wanting to play the game. They're not going to make a game for a couple thousand people to play.
Right, right.
But maybe like you could use whatever skins in these to play that game. I could see that being valuable.
Wow, Chris, that's cool, man. Yeah, that's always how I envisioned it before I saw the Veveverse come to fruition, or at least like in the development stage, is that I always thought it would be like Disney, and then Vivi would be their digital collectible store within the
Yeah.
Disney umbrella. And then essentially how I envisioned it was like once you bought something from that store, then it would almost be able to spawn you goods, so to speak, across different things. Like for
Mm.
gaming, you get to walk in that skin. For shopping, you get to have discounts for any Miles Morales products or whatever, right? And just have this whole life built around owning that digital collectible. That's how
Yeah.
I always saw it. But then I know there's all the thing that Vivi's always harping about with like equity and inclusivity, and like I don't know if Disney wants people to have $1 million products
Mm.
while you know what I'm trying to say. And that's the thing I think about as well. So I don't know.
Well, I think a good thing is that Bob Iger came back,
True.
and he's bullish on the metaverse. He helped with the Genies project, which I'm really not familiar with, but I just know he is like an advisor or something for that project. Disney launched their Web3 Accelerator program. They hired a couple of lawyers, which I'm assuming is built to defend them from things that are going to happen, like people getting rugged using their NFTs. So like I think in the next few years we're going to see Disney and Marvel care a little bit more, and they already do care a little bit more about digital assets, especially with Bob Iger being back. I think that's like a really big bull case for it. Um,
Love
yeah,
that.
there's one more thing I was gonna say on the, Spider-Man thing, but it, like, completely le oh, yeah. We haven't really seen this yet in Veve, which is probably just because, like, Veve doesn't have control as much over what Disney chooses to, like, add utility to. But if Disney did come in stronger, like, on their end and, like, decided that they were gonna drop things or add a utility to things that we already have, like, I think that would be a huge case. Like you were saying, like,
Yeah.
if I own this secret rare Spider-Man Miles Morales, then, like, I get, I get discount on the new Spider-Man game. I get discount on the new or early access to the new Spider-Man movie. That'd be huge. Or I
Right.
get like, all these like basically this lifetime utility based off of this asset of anything involving this character. Like I think that would be significant. Now that's obviously like big speculation, but it's not outside the realm of possibilities. As a matter of fact, that's like kind of like what a lot of digital assets are about is like this utility that is ongoing. So you're kind of in the dilemma, is it worth me selling this, for this money, which is good money, or is it worth me having this lifetime utility? That's like Bored Apes. Like everybody's like,
Mm.
wow, people are idiots for holding Bored Apes. At the end of the day, which they watched a lot of money go from six figures easily, down even seven figures. But at the end of the day, they have lifetime access to like all Bored Ape events. They've had tons of money airdropped, which is kind of like
Yeah.
whatever. They've had their token. They have their own ecosystem. They have another game coming out very soon. This game's going to allow you to make money by playing the game. They've offered their staking. Like they've gotten so much money and so much utility already from holding this thing for like 2 years. That's already paid that off tenfold. So like, if you're holding if somebody like gave you a Bored Ape now, you're like, man, do I take this 70 ETH, whatever the floor is, and run? Or is this going to yield me like that value over the next like 10,
Mm.
20 years? That's you almost, I feel like as a project that like wants to incentivize value, you want people to have that dilemma. Do I want to
Mm.
like, what's more valuable, holding this and seeing what all it gives me in the future, or getting this upfront sale and then exiting?
Wow, that's such a good point, dude. And I remember I even tried to buy a physical collectible from the Bored Apes. They've released them at some point. I forget who it was through, but then any holder already got one of the unique ones. You know what I mean? So it's just like they had the access to buy,
Yeah.
and it's like things like that. And then I don't know if I told you this, but there's actually a few guys in my neighborhood that just opened up a it's called Board Barbers, and
What?
they essentially all uh teamed up. Like I don't know how much they paid for it, Board Ape, but they all like put in like let's just say 20K each, and they're using that for their branding and everything like that. So
Wow.
yeah, so they're
Dang,
hoping to
dude,
make
that's sick.
Blog TO. And like that's the kind of utility that on top of that you get the branding aspect. Everybody in the world knows what that is. It's obviously high
Yeah.
end, you know. So you're right, man. I think it's really really cool, you know. So what other projects are you like invested in right now other than Vivi? I know you've got a lot going on.
Yeah, dude, I have like 50 plus projects.
Yeah, okay.
Not any that like so the ones I keep up with regularly are more like trading based. Because
Mm,
like right now I'm trading more than collecting, but I do have like long-term holds. Like I have a V-Friend Series 2. I have Puma. I have Puma's NFT. I'm actually getting the shoes hopefully in the next few months. Their
wow.
NFT, if you minted it, came with a like shoe that was like exclusive. Like there was 4,000 NFT, so there's 4,000 shoes of like two different styles that looked really cool. So I'm getting that. And what I said earlier, like I could have sold the Puma NFT when I first got it for like $500, but
Yeah.
like these shoes, shoot, these shoes might be worth $200-300 by themselves immediately out the box because they're exclusive Puma shoes, and then I still have the Puma NFT. So like, what else is Puma going to give me? Like Puma has like 7 million followers on Twitter, and
Yeah.
their name is Puma.eth. Like they actually care, because what a lot of projects do is kind of a tangent, is like they'll like launch like a separate NFT brand because they're almost embarrassed of it. So like what
Mm.
they'll do is, like, I think even Nickelodeon did that via Recur. Instead of Nickelodeon talking about how they're gonna have an NFT project, they made a Nickelodeon dot or slash NFT. But like Puma just straight up did Puma.eth, so they're kind of all in my
Oh.
opinion. But I'm still holding my Puma. I'm priced out of some things that I really would like. I would love Nike, like Artifact. That's kind of like
Yeah.
the yeah, I would love, or Clone X specifically, but they're at like 5 or 6 ETH, and I just can't drop that.
Yeah.
And I'm priced out of that. I'm holding a lot of like random projects that I just like. But going back to it, I'm very active in like some trading projects, like with that 5 ETH sell that you mentioned earlier. I got a five. It was like the first week of 2023. I got a 5 ETH sell, which at the time was like $6,000. I would have had an $8,000 sale, but I was camping and couldn't sell it the day prior.
Uh-huh.
So camping cost me $2,000, but it is what it is. It was worth it. Yeah, it was tough to see.
Yeah.
But I bought like $1,300 like alpha NFT, which basically gives you like exclusive asset access to this Discord, and it's like one of the top alpha groups in the space. But the interesting part about this one is they have a 24-hour voice chat with like 50 plus people in it all the time. So like at
Mhm.
nighttime when it's like I put my kids to bed, I just like turn it on. I just listen to like calls, I listen to information, I listen to whatever they're talking about. And like it could literally just be any time during the day. I just kind of like tune in. And then they also are really good about partnerships. So they partner with other NFT projects, like getting you like those allow list spots on like big brands because they pay somebody full time to like do collab networks. So like I'm very involved with that. And then my Ninja Alerts crew, of course, because I work for Ninja Alerts.
Wow.
But yeah, I own a ton of projects. So like obviously all the ones that you've made content on. I own a Bat Cow. I own Hero. Hero, since the beginning, I've always said I'm here to collect it because I've always been a card guy. So like I
Yeah.
own like the entire physical, besides like the three of the rarest ones, and then the digitals to go with those. Recur, all that, and then like 50 other projects.
Wow. So like I said, you know what you're doing, man. That's amazing because you can make so many contrasting and comparison analysis and just be like, okay, what does this have that this doesn't? Like, things that you just mentioned about like Bored Apes is like there's so much utility there that like even at that price point, it still makes it a worthwhile investment, right? And it's like, even I see that with the cows, like they get early access to comics, they have all these different
Mhm.
like in-person events. I think they had like access to a movie premiere, and that's just the start of it. And it's like I feel like that's where for some of these bigger licensed NFT projects like Vivi, that's where Disney's going to have to step in and be like, okay, if we want to compete with the best, we're going to have to give the best to the people that have these NFTs. So, and I mean, there's no denying that all these things that are coming out on Vivi aren't the first of their kind on the blockchain. I mean, even Disney acknowledges that they're the NFTs. Marvel has acknowledged it. So, I mean, I think that there could be a surprise in the future for us. But what a lot of people tell me, Chris, is they say, it's like they already got their money. Like, why the heck would they want to,
Mhm.
start adding all these different incentives? Yeah, sure, maybe it's going to trade at a higher price point, but they can just move on, create their own project, and just keep doing that shiny new toy, shiny new toy, shiny new toy
Yeah.
until the end of time. So why benefit the first holders? And that's interesting to me because that's where you might see, like you talked about, these other projects do better.
Yeah. No, I mean that's honestly a great point, and that's why like I That's why that's where a lot of speculation comes in. Like, are they going to care about these things? People bought Walt at very expensive prices, like with
Yeah.
speculation. I've never owned a Walt, by the way. With speculation that like the Walt would be like that utility that Disney would provide, and that's why like I haven't spent a ton of money on like a single NFT in a while. Besides like that I get not a ton of money, but I spent that money on that pass. But like that's why I think it's important to realize like who's behind it and who cares about the space because like if they don't actually care about building in Web3, then it might just be, for lack of better words, a cash grab for like forever.
Right.
And that, even if it was like just money for them, that doesn't mean that the things can't be valuable because like value is placed like where the holders place it.
Right.
But like I hope with Bob Iger being in there that he'll add value to those. He's already shown interest in again their what was it called? I just mentioned it earlier. Their web Web3 startup or their
I forget. Sorry, buddy.
I don't remember what it's called.
Yeah.
Whatever I mentioned earlier, like he's
Just
already
rewind it, folks. Rewind it, and you'll
yeah,
find it.
rewind it,
Yeah.
go check that out. But whatever I mentioned earlier, he's already added, or he's already contributed value towards that. So like,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I just like I hope that they care enough to like value their early supporters and they care enough to add value to like new NFTs. And I do think like adding this utility, and adding like all these are like different new things like would add volume at the end of the day. Like I think we would see
Yeah.
a lot more volume at higher levels. So like I think that would kind of be a incentive for them to actually go through with it.
Right. And everybody uses the buzzword like utility, right? And I'm like, okay, like what is actual like long-term sustainable utility? Like that is a difficult question in the Web3 space. And I
Yes.
feel as though, we still don't even have like an understanding of what could come from utility in the future. Like right now, we're still using our phones. Like we haven't even like talked about like augmented reality or virtual
Yeah.
technology, walking around in these metaverses like for your full day. Like there could be like literally um utility built with inside these metaverses, like you get flying cars and shit like this too. So it's like, I think this is where, these are big companies, especially when you mentioned with Nike as well. Like if they're already completely interoperable and things, like I can't even imagine where, Artifact and Clone X could go with that too. And I don't know, man. It's exciting, but it's also so speculative. Like even Gary Vee says it, like we don't know what blockchains are going to look like in the future. Like there's so many competing blockchains. And then on top of that, companies have their own clicks, so to speak. So it's like, which metaverse are you part of? Which land is going to be valuable, and then it might shift. Like there might be like it's like we're all here on Earth because it's our only planet. But like the metaverse, you could have everybody could be on one metaverse, and then over time it's like another competing one that's better comes in, and then everyone moves there, so there's so much speculation. And I don't know if there's going to be like hundreds of metaverses, or if you think there's going to be like a big three, or like how do you kind of see that unfolding?
Yeah, I think there's gonna be a lot, just like there's a lot of different projects and,
Yeah.
un I say unfortunately, I do think some of them are gonna be clicky, like I think like let's say like Disney and Marvel might have their own thing and they might only allow like a certain collectibles or into theirs, which would be a good case for Vivi, because Vivi already has the license. So, we allow Vivi, but we're not gonna allow like all these other to come in. Um, as far as the decentralization aspect, I don't love that. I like complete interoperability, like ownership of my assets,
Yeah.
and being able to take them and put them wherever I want, whenever I want. But again, like I think that's a very possible scenario where it's like Marvel, Disney, Vivi, and then maybe like one or two other trusted projects. Like they already have like Flickers, which is like a random NFT project that like you've probably never heard of, but like they
Yeah.
did team up with Disney. And then there's been like a couple of others along the way. So I could totally see like that happening. And then having this like more general metaverse that like everyone uses. Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of them. Just kind of like I see a lot of NFT projects today, and then hopefully most will be interoperable. I need to plug in my headset real quick.
Oh yeah, no worries, man. Yeah, okay, that's good to know. I mean, I think that's kind of how I see it unfolding as well. And one thing that I think the VV-verse is interesting how they could actually integrate, unique assets as well into the VV-verse from outside of VV. Like, and they talked about like, whatever, like maybe you could take your board ape and stick it into the
Yeah,
VV-verse. But then it's like, in my opinion, I have a feeling that like that could backfire because you're gonna see so many of these people with like, you know, 10,000 editions of a collectible, and you're gonna see like these people that are walking around with like one of ones or have one of one Bored Apes or one of one projects from the outside. And I don't know, I feel like it would be almost like a closed container that would then pique people's interest to going to like OpenSea and getting something that's unique so they can stand out from the pack, you know,
Yeah.
because everyone's gonna look at each other like, you're Spider-Man, I'm Spider-Man, you're Spider-Man, I am too. Like, you know,
Yeah.
and it's like that's a lot of like 60,000 Spider-Mans, you know,
Yeah.
if this VV verse isn't that big, you're gonna see a lot of those there.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I don't know. It's just interesting, right? Like, come to my house and check out my Spider-Man, and it's like somebody else is like, I have the same thing in my house. You want to come see it? It's like, no, I have it.
My hope is that the, MCP program like, they talked about this forever ago, but there's gonna be, like, accessories to be able to put on your collectibles, and those
Mhm.
accessories are gonna be bought with, like, MCP points. So
Right.
hopefully that's, like, cool enough to where, like, they can, like, really stand out, you know? Like, hopefully you don't buy this, like, goofy hat that, like, you could put on your Spider-Man, you know? Hopefully it's, like, a really cool, like, outfit for Miles that, like or, you know, something that really makes it stand out that's, like, kinda limited in itself that you really saved up
Mhm.
your MCP points for and, like, really helps you stand out. And on top of that, that can or cannot be realized on chain. That's how a lot of places do it. So essentially, like, you can choose to realize it on chain, and if you do that, you pay like a small transaction fee. Well, on IMX, it'd be like an extremely small transaction fee, and you could actually sell that Spider-Man like on chain as that. You know, like you put this like full black suit instead of like the
Oh,
black and red or whatever. And then that's realized on chain, and now there's only like 15% of the supply that have this specific attribute, and it would obviously go for a higher value, like, on the VV marketplace and it, like, on Immutable X if, like, we're able to sell on there. I could see that, like, kinda helping, like, things stand out.
yeah.
Yeah, so at DCon in Anaheim, I was standing next to, like, the booth, that
Right.
they're gonna set up on with VV, and Dan Crothers came up to me, and he was like, we're gonna be able to allow like the Bored Ape to be able to take your Bored Ape. He specifically mentioned Bored Ape, which is really funny hearing Dan Crowther say Bored Ape,
Yeah.
into the VV verse. I thought that was awesome. Like I was so like as soon as he told me that, like I thought it was really cool because like okay, that's even though the assets are still gonna be on VV, like and not like at that point, you know, we don't know if we're gonna take them off or not. At least they're like open to allowing other ecosystems in.
Right.
And so even in the VV verse display, if you put it on, you could see Brock's fishes kind of like swimming around the VV verse. So like you know that shows the interoperability of allowing stuff in. At the end of the day, I think that it's Vivi and Akomi. I think they want interoperability, but I think it's the licenses that are kind of
Mhm.
delaying it, whether that's like waiting for like a definitive yes from the licensors or just kind of waiting for like more communication. But I really think it's like on Disney and Marvel. I don't think it's on Vivi because if you look at just like even Akomi's like Twitter post, they talk a lot about interoperability. And I know that's like technically different than Vivi, but it's still like under the same umbrella. They talk a
Right.
lot about interoperability and the importance of it and the importance of digital assets. I know Reese knows a ton about like just the blockchain, just about Web3.
He's
So
super
I
smart. Yeah.
exactly. But like, and they're not allowed to just like come out and be like, yeah, Marvel's not letting us let you take your assets off. Like, there's no
Yeah.
way they're going to be able to say that. So, like personally, I think that the delay is on Disney and Marvel and some of these other brands. I don't think it's on Vivi. And you might say, well, what about DC? Like, I mean, there's still not an interoperable DC platform either. Like, I know
Mhm.
Palm, it's on the roadmap for Batcals, but it's still not interoperable right now. It's still on the Palm network.
Right.
So like we still haven't really seen that like big IP as far as like Disney, Marvel, DC off of whatever platform it dropped off of, to my knowledge.
No, I agree with you. Like as far as I know as well, like, you know, even like Hero as an example, like so there's a lot that still could be, you know, built into that interoperability component, but I could
No,
see it.
you're right. Actually, Hero is a good example. Hero was allowed. It was interoperable. Now that I think about it, because you could actually take it off the platform to IMX. You could actually take it off of IMX into OpenSea. Now, like the volume, or on whatever platform you want. Now, the volume wasn't
Right.
insane on that, but I did forget about that. And then there's McFarlane Digital, but that's under Todd McFarlane's licenses.
Right.
That
Under
allows that.
Polygon and
Yeah.
yeah. Man, there's so many projects, right? And this is what I keep talking about with saturation, dude. Like, there's just going to be so much to choose from in the future, and they're going to keep respinning the wheel on different networks, different chains, that it's going to be really hard to distinguish what's really going to be the most valuable. And I've said this a million times about VV is like, you know, even if we had like 10x the amount of users, currently than we did at like the all-time high, we've also had at least 3 to 4x the amount of NFTs. So to like
Yeah.
uphold those same price points, you need to have more and more people coming in as you're dropping more and more NFTs. Unless there's something like what we talked about with like FAs, significant low mint, stuff like that, that
Yeah.
could like still be something that's sought after by, and be very popular. But like some of the stuff that's coming out, you got 10,000 editions, 5,000 editions, the comics nobody's heard of. I'm like, man, like go see your comic book bin at a local comic shop and
Yeah.
you could see the 50-cent comics that are there. Like that's no different than physical production. It's just that we're at the beginning stages, so it's a lot more interesting. But it's like
Yeah.
long term, I just don't see a lot of these things ever really taking off unless you're holding the right bag of goodies,
100%. I completely agree. And the same, you're into Pokemon cards, aren't you? Or you
Yeah,
were?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same thing with that. What you got?
I got a ton of things, but I just keep opening booster boxes for fun, even though I know there's not
Yeah.
much in it. But I just like, there's so many things. Like for instance, like
Oh, nice.
Charizard, right? They go like, oh, this is the first time Charizard's rainbow. This is Shining Charizard. This
Oh,
is
yeah, yeah,
Emax
yeah.
Charizard. This is the alternate art, but from the first set. This is, you know what I'm trying to say? And they just keep making iterations, but they're never come to the price points of the first ones, right? Unless it's something
Yeah.
totally unique. But it's like Charizard's a big name, so it's the same thing we see with like Spider-Man or Batman or Superman. It's that kind of same thing that I imagine, right? But
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. So I don't know, man. I mean, it's kind of just reminds me of like us moving into this digital, revolution. But I think one thing that could change it all is Pokemon. I'll be honest with you,
Oh,
because
yeah, 100%. Yeah.
David Yu, I don't know if you saw his tweet, but like somebody put out like, oh, if you could have one, you know, license come into Vivi, what would it be? And then David Yu said Pokemon.
Did you really? I didn't even see
Yeah,
that.
he
That's
commented
hilarious.
Pokemon. And I'm
That's
like, dude, you
funny,
can't
dude.
troll that hard,
Yeah. That's such a David thing to say.
Yeah. So but but this is where I'm like interested, because I think if that ever happened where Pokemon came in, and let's just say they had like 10,000 editions for Pikachu or something, there would be such a high demand for it that the chances of you like getting in at a good point, like entry point after, would be so difficult in my opinion that you'd almost
Yeah.
be better to wait, and if you didn't land it on the drop, and let those gems recycle into the other collectibles. You know
Mhm.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah,
feel
that
then
makes
people
sense.
be like, "Okay, I got all these Pokemon products. Let me go into like, I don't know, Marvel." And then they would like then go buy up those other things. I don't think you have a chance in hell to get something if a Pokemon drop.
Yeah. Pokemon's already established in AR too, with, like, Pokemon Go, and I think that's gonna be
True.
Vivi's, like, one of their strong points in 2023. Dr. Profit wrote a really good thread on this. I actually made a video on it, but, like, the progression of AR we're gonna see in 2023, and there's some pretty strong bull cases for, like, some of the new technology, the new hardware we're gonna see. That's gonna just make it more accessible to the average user, and that's gonna make it a lot less, like, bulky. 'Cause, like, I have a VR headset. I know it's a little different than AR, but, like, it's huge, it's like if it, like, hurts your neck if you wear it for a while, but they're essentially making it, like, by the end of this year, they're gonna have it more like a lighter style, more like goggles, and then eventually, of course, like the sunshades or, like, regular glasses, but I think, like, Pokemon's already familiar with that with Niantic and Pokemon Go, so, like, if VB does get Pokemon, I can see the smooth transition from, like, making them digital collectibles and then, like, being able to integrate them with AR and then having so many use cases in AR, like, for that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude.
I'm a big Pokemon fan too, so I'll probably get burnt on the Pokemon drops and buy too high because, like, that's stuff I actually collect. I even got my, like, I don't have much anymore. All my good stuff is, like, hidden somewhere, but,
Oh,
I don't know if
yeah.
you're old
I
I don't
forgot
know if you're
about
old enough
those.
for this. I don't know how old you are, but
I'm 31. I remember those
okay,
well.
okay, okay, yeah, this
Yeah.
is, the original BK Golden cards, which isn't even
Sick.
valuable. I just remember getting it, like, from Burger King when I was a kid, so it's valuable to me. I have the whole set. And I had a lot. I had the so what I was originally the point I was gonna bring up on Pokemon earlier is there's, like, on the OG cards, there's, like, limited runs and there's unlimited runs. The limited runs have, like, a little stamp at the top left of the card that basically says this is, like, the first run Charizard. And then
Yeah.
they made, like, an unlimited run. Like, that's the way I see VV being to an extent, is, like, there's gonna be, like, first appearances, and then there's gonna be, like, a ton of stuff after that first appearance. The stuff that appeared after that first appearance, some of it is still valuable because, like, people are trying to complete that set, and while it's an unlimited run, it's still kind of annoying to find, like, a card where the chances to pull it are extremely, like, rare.
Yeah.
But that, like, limited set, that first edition set, or first appearance set is like the golden opportunity, just like it is for Pokemon cards. Like even like bad cards that are like random on the like first run are still like get like decent money, especially if they're in good condition.
Right. And the one thing that's interesting to me is like the component there is like age as well. Like because it's like physical subject to physical like degradation as like with NFTs, they're pristine for the most part, unless you're
Yeah.
DC releasing like graded graded comics. But like I wonder how that plays out because somebody asked me this question recently. They're like, "Oh, in one of your videos, you said like season one NFTs would like be still cream of the crop in like 10 seasons from now." But like now that like I'm realizing like because they're NFTs, that age relevant is not necessarily maybe as relevant. There's not like a blockade unless there's more people that have bought them off the blockchain. But really, it comes down to that popularity and what people want. Like Kryptons, as an example, like that was season one,
Yeah.
but they're still super cheap. You know what I mean?
Yeah, nobody wants them.
Yeah. So it's like that's kind of a cool, like an interesting thing to think about too. Is that like maybe like you said, maybe if EV releases like a special edition Vader of like 321 pieces, that would obviously still do really, really well if it's like and if they're smart
Yeah,
about the
yeah,
languaging, like I find as soon as they put a little tag on it, like if it was just no name, it would be like, okay, like if it didn't have an FAFE or but you can put anything, you put like SE special
yeah,
edition or like, just something that gets people's blood boiling. That's what Pokemon does. Like everything's
yeah.
got a new thing to it to make it pure and new.
No, I think that's smart, and I think that'd keep people's, retention a lot better, and yeah, that'd be cool.
Man, and they could do so many things to make it more engaging, like even like a news feed inside the app, right? Like I know MCP will help, but like just more social aspects. Like I just feel like it's kind of stagnant right now. And
There's not a lot to do in the app, like, the retention
yeah,
rate is probably awful. Like, I'm not on the Veve app a lot, and, like, I love Veve, I love the community, I love the founders, but, like, there's just not a lot to do. Like, I know last year at this time, I was, like, sniping on the market and flipping because I like to do that. Now
right.
there's not a lot of volume, and they took away, like, the way I would do it would be, like, basically, I would look at the latest thing that was posted, but they basically, like, scratched that and made it harder to do that. So, like, I'm not able to do that anymore. But yeah, there's just like the feed is like not the best socially, and then like I'm not a good vault builder. Like I've put stuff in my vault, but like I'm not good at
Yeah.
it, so it's not something I enjoy doing on my off time. So it's yeah, they just need to add more like I'm sure MCP will help. Like those daily logins count now, but you're still not really getting any kind of like immediate gratification. Like even
Mhm.
Hero, like you open the app and it gives you like this little stars, and then it says like you've logged in for the day. Yeah, it's something like that. But like
Right.
yeah, VBA's retention rate is probably, like, stupid low right now because like, nobody wants to be in the app because there's just not a lot to do in the app.
Right. And then the chances of like still winning a drop are low. And then if you do win, it's generally like you question it because you're like, oh, is this gonna go for under retail? You know what I mean? Like when I
Yeah.
got RoboCop, I was like, there's a chance it
Yeah.
goes for around retail. Thank God it was about 15 gems more, but it was you have to make those decisions now, right?
I
But
do think when they allow other people to come in, that's gonna be cool. Like,
mhm,
I've been trying to get my wife to do photography NFTs for a while because she's so good at photography.
wow.
Eventually she'll do them, but like also like if Vivi allows like anybody to come in, she could display her photography NFTs in the Viviverse, or on Vivi. If that's gonna be possible, and I think that'd be a cool aspect, and the social aspect of like going to people's like whatever they are, Vivi houses and like seeing like their unique like what not only what they own, but like what they created, I think would be a really
Mhm.
cool aspect.
Really, really cool, man. What project would you say that you're invested in is probably like the most advanced and like doing all the right things? And like, do you think a lot of the other NFT projects are gonna like follow suit to and maybe there's a few answers for this because you'd be like, well, this one's really good at this thing and that one's really
Yeah.
good at this. But like, what are some of the things that you're seeing that are really like, forward moving and really kind of setting the stage and setting that pole just or that bar a little higher?
Oh man, that's tough.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot. I do think like ultimately Bat Cows came off like pretty strong. I wish that interoperability was earlier in their roadmap.
Yeah.
But besides that, like what was it, 52 weeks of oh no, longer than 2 years of utility released every 52 days, something
Yeah,
like that.
exactly. Yeah.
And they stuck with that, and they've been doing that. And not just because the free stuff's cool, but it's not gonna last forever, but, like, getting free stuff every once in a while is pretty cool. Getting these little, like, gems, getting these little comic covers and all that. They immediately had some in real life events, which like builds that strong community up.
Right.
That was gated by bat cows. Um, so I think they started off pretty strong. They're very engaged. So like I'm not as engaged as a lot of people like because there's like 24-hour Twitter Spaces on bat cows. So the community's been
I
killing
know.
that.
They go
But,
forever.
like, I get emails, like, weekly or biweekly from DC comment or DC, on the project, like, "Hey, vote for use your vote, your cow's vote to vote for this new thing," and that's cool.
Mhm.
You're kinda part of this DAO in a sense. Um, so, yeah, I think Backhouse is doing it well. There's been a lot of talk of security lately. Just in the Web3 space, because a lot of people, like, don't like decentralization because of security. So, like, for instance, like, a couple days ago, a very famous influencer he literally named himself NFT God, lost all of his assets. He lost everything, his ETH, his apes, his, everything. And so there's a lot of, like, fear on that. Now I know where he went wrong. What he did was, this is where, like, the nerd part comes out on me. There's these hardware devices called ledgers or trezors, or there's a bunch of
Yeah.
different types. He basically imported his ledger into his MetaMask. So in other words, like the safest part of ledger is your seed phrase never touches online. But if you get lazy and you get a new computer and you don't feel like going through the whole setup, you can do a MetaMask Chrome extension and then you can upload that seed phrase to there. Well, boom, you're exposed at that point. Because your hardware wallet, your cold storage wallet is now a hot wallet, which is defeats the whole point of even having like a ledger in the first place. Anyways, he did
Wow.
that and then he downloaded some Redline malware and it hacked everything on his computer, took everything from him, his Discord, his email, his Twitter, everything, and then it took all his assets. Anyways, all that to say,
Jeez.
I do think there's going to be more protocols in the future to protect people from making these mistakes. But for now, I like this is like not been relevant for a while, but I've always liked Recur's system, which is similar to Heroes. Recur has like a centralized original system where like you can do trading on their marketplace. You can buy stuff, whatever. You can get utility on their marketplace, but at any given point, you can pay the fees and send your assets from the marketplace to they're actually going to be like multi-chain. So like or they already are multi-chain in a sense. They're using Ethereum and they're using Polygon. I think they're going to incorporate like Avalanche and like a couple other like blockchains, like Cardano, maybe whatever they incorporate. But I like that layer because you can keep it centralized and feel safe, and secure. At the end of the
Mm.
day, if somebody steals, then maybe steals your asset, maybe Recur can get it back for you or issue a refund or be protected by some type of insurance. But if you like the decentralization aspect and you like being able to take your NFTs off, you can also do that. So I think Recur and Hero are doing that right. I think Vivi has every chance to do that if their brands let them. Um, so yeah,
Right.
there's just so many NFT projects doing different things, like that are pretty solid. One of the ones I like is I don't own one. I've thought about buying one. Have you heard of Sappy Seals?
No, actually, I haven't.
They're pretty fun. So I met the founder in Miami at the end of last year for Art Basel, which is like this. They basically rented out 2 streets in Miami, and it was just NFT everything. I got the shirt there from FaZe,
Sick.
and it was really sick. But I met the founder there. But basically, it's like a PFP project, which like a lot of people hate on PFP projects, but they're fun. And like part of a part of Web3 is just like that digital identity. Kind of going back to what we said earlier of like, if you see a Bored Ape holder, you're gonna assume they're either early or they have money.
Right.
And so seals are kind of known for their memes, and they just made this thing called like a meme machine where basically like they created this AI software to where if you have seals and eventually I think they're also doing it for other NFT projects, you can like make memes of your seals like very quickly using AI. Sorry, my cat's like scratching me. I'm about to throw it outside. Um, but you can make memes of like, your seal holding a coffee mug that says good morning or like, like basically making it wave or kind of like how people change their profile pictures, like smiling, maybe they're with their family, maybe they were
Yeah.
like doing something different. You can kind of do that with your NFT. And I thought that was like a quirky little, they're building a lot more than that. But like, that's just like a fun, innovative thing. And like projects that are like on the ground grinding, creating, like innovating, creating new ideas. Like I support like any project that's doing that. I think Sappy Sills has been doing a good job at that.
Super cool, man. I love how you said that too about like just standing out from the crowd, right? Like with Bored Apes, like it's either one of two things: you're rich or you're smart. And like, who doesn't want to be identified as rich or smart? You know what I mean? Like, because
Yeah, for sure.
that's and so that's really cool. I love that, and I think like that's the thing is like if you're trying to represent yourself and your digital identity in a certain way, And if you maybe come across too serious, then maybe I'm going to go with the project that you just mentioned. You know what I'm trying to say? Like,
Yeah, exactly. You're kind of just like, kind of like a laid back, chill person, and maybe you go with a
yeah,
steppy still. And it's great for social capital and branding because like a lot of those projects, like Bored Apes is actually one of the first at doing this. By the way, I'll connect this to Vivi in a second, but like they had the whole ape follow ape, and like legitimately, like if you were on Twitter early, on the NFT Twitter, and you had a Bored Ape, you probably weren't gonna be under 10,000 followers because they did such a good job at promoting each other. I think Vivi
right.
eventually could do that too, because eventually I do think this was even confirmed, I'm pretty sure, that Vivi is gonna do, like, generative projects or, like, generative art, and so, like, if we have that art that really stands out, I do think we'll see that we could see that on Vivi too, that social capital that you're talking about, and you already see
Yeah.
it, Kyle Wilson did the little red O, and that
Yeah.
was great
Yeah.
that was great for branding. I remember when I first got on Twitter, that was, like, a thing, and like everyone followed everyone with a red O. And I think that's great. Kyle did an awesome job marketing that, but I think we'll see that in PFPs as well. Of hope because like right now, let's be honest, like you said this earlier, but like you don't really want everyone to have like the same looking
Yeah.
picture. You
Exactly.
know, like you said in the metaverse, like if everybody's having the same Spider-Man, it's like that meme, where like all the Spider-Mans are like pointing at each other. It's like the same
Exactly.
thing. But to
Yeah.
have that uniqueness, whether they do generative art or to have that uniqueness of once you're able to attach like these items or these accessories to your VV NFTs, I think will really like let it stand out and create social capital. And like people hate on PFP so much, but like PFP is a big part of digital identity. It's how you want to be perceived. Just like in Web 2, like people like want to show off that they have their shit together, so they're smiling
Right.
with their family, or they want to show off that they're edgy, so they like have a post of them being edgy. They want to show off what they want you to see. It's kind of a weird thing that we're in. But
Yeah.
like what Web3 is the same way. Like digital identity is very important. So like what you have in your profile picture represents a large part of yourself, whether that's like a super serious thing, whether that's an ape that you want to be seen as like wealthier in this club, whether that's a sappy seal, you want to be seen as like a meme lord, whatever it is a big part of who you are. So, like, to me, like, bridging that Web 2 to Web 3 gap is important.
Wow. Really well said there, Chris. So here's a question for you. I want to pose this to you. What's the likelihood of like, let's say 10 years out, we're using augmented reality. The glasses are super chill. Maybe they're even contact lenses in, 12 years or
Yeah.
something like that. And you're like, walking around and essentially like, I'm looking at somebody and he's the way that he's identifying himself is he's got like a shining Gyarados in the background walking right behind him. And people are like, oh my God, this guy's got one of the rarest Pokemons out there that are on the blockchain that's minted, etc. The guy beside him's, in a Bored Ape suit skin. And you're like, oh my God, this guy's a millionaire. Like, obviously that's a big deal. And then somebody else is like wearing high-end, Gucci wings on the back of their fashion and some Nike kicks that like are all crazy and crazed out. Like, is that the future with like LiDAR technology and everything that, we could be going into? Or is that just like fantasy in a sense?
No, I definitely think it is, like,
Yeah.
whether, like, that's gonna be, like, a very public thing or not is one story, but, like, I like the Gyarados example a lot because, like, I've always played Pokemon, and dude, even just, like, a couple weeks ago, I played, through Violet and Scarlet, and I got
Okay.
a full odd shiny, and I've, like, by myself, because like, not I don't have a lot of friends that play anymore, and I'm like, "Yeah, full odd shiny," I was, like, stoked about it because like, I was like, "This is so rare," but, like, I can't really share this experience with a lot of people, so I think I like screenshotted it and like put it on like Reddit, maybe,
Mm.
to like for some people to celebrate with me. But if you have that experience that you're able to like show off easier of like, hey, if somebody has this like certain app or is in a certain metaverse and they happen to just see me walking, then they'll see that. Just like on like Pokemon Go, you can like see local players, like
Right.
you can see the gyms and see what Pokemon they display at the gyms. That was a big step towards that direction because for a while it was if I find cool stuff, only my friends see it or even my only myself see it. But that was a big step because like geolocation or whatever, being able to see what people around you. But I do think AR is going to take that to the next level. And kind of make it even like more accessible, especially like let's just say like the casual glasses, kind of being at those prime locations, see like there's geo spots that maybe the gyms are at, and then just kind of looking
Mhm.
at somebody and seeing like what they choose to walk behind them, like they do in the video games. I think it's gonna be a really big deal. And then, like you said, with the ape outfit or whatever it is. Like, I don't know exactly how that's gonna look, but I think it's almost hard to grasp it right now because
Right. It
like this
is.
is but it almost sounds silly, but a lot of things sounded silly before they weren't. And I think that's what we're gonna see with NFTs and Web3.
Wow, that's yeah. I love that we're on the same page there because that's exactly what I'm seeing too. Even with like fashion, like instead of wearing like your Rolex watch out to like let's say a third world country, if like let's say like augmented reality is like limited in those places, then only people that have like access to that, or if you're like identifying like that you want to be seen, then you could have like people see your watch, but it's only like the people that have access to you, or like maybe even like it's so complex. It could be like literally only citizens from Canada and America could see like that you have your profile settings open on your augmented reality to only limit those countries to see you
Yeah,
what you're
exactly.
wearing. And then that way you're seeing like all these like hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of assets, but like the general person can't see it at all on you, right? And like that's what you
Yeah,
said, like security. I mean, if you're looking for a good feel,
yeah,
that's not going anywhere for a very long time, right?
yeah,
Wow.
absolutely.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's all like speculation at this point, and it's all so early. And I think what I've really loved about today, Chris, is like we're getting a really like wide view of like how VV kind of stacks up against other NFT projects, against
Mhm.
crypto and Web3 as a whole. And I think like one thing that I always said is like they really had like such an advantage by able to sign all these different massive brands so early
Yeah,
on and beating them to the blockchain. But like there is now that next phase where I feel like they need to keep up with that same movement before kind of being, left behind. And I think they could always maybe be a niche project and have like permanency in the fact that they were the first appearances, that there's these great collectibles. And like you said, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. And obviously they're still significant, but like to
yeah.
really challenge and rival like Clone X, Bored Apes, all that stuff, how do we get there? And that's the question I think a lot of people are asking. And when they see things like, I don't know, there's a lot of stuff like I think like VV Vault and a few others saw like it was like somebody that got like I don't know, sent like the number 41, 44, 91,
Yeah.
and sold them. And like, it's like there's just like that transparency is needed. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of EV, always have been, always will be. But I just think that, the roadmap coming out at, sticking true to the schedule, MCP, all these things need to start like kind of ramping up because somebody else could really kind of take over before we have the
Mhm.
chance to.
Yeah, I know in 2021, I was, like, super bullish on Vv going to Immutable X, but the metadata just wasn't there after they went over. It did get better since then, like, it got better recently, but it's still not there, I wanna see
Yeah.
sales volume without using, like, people that have access to to the back end, like, I wanna see it, like, on the blockchain because that's what I do. I mean, I track wallets and I track data. So, like, I
Right.
would love to see that on Vv. I shoulda, like, introduced myself, I guess, as this at the very beginning of this episode, so people don't think I'm just sitting here like none of this means to come across as like negative towards Vivi. Vivi will always have a place in my heart. Like it introduced me to Web3, honestly. Like I found
Yeah.
Omi and then I found Vivi in February of 2021, and like it changed my life. It like got me there. I still have 300 total collectibles and comics. Which like it isn't a lot compared to a lot of people, but like I'm not exited VV by any means. I still make VV content. But like there's just so much going on in the space that like
Yeah.
I'm working full time in Web3. I'm pulled in a lot of different directions. I like it that way. Like I love the VV community. Like Chad, we met through the VV community.
Yeah,
We've been in
man.
some same group chats for like over a year. I have some really close lifelong friends that I met from the VV community. I will never be that person that like looks back and is like I regret like whether it goes to the moon or whether it goes to zero. I don't regret anything because like it changed my life. So like I'm always like satisfied. I'll never be that person that like leaves VV and talks bad about it. Not saying I will leave VV, but like just like
Yeah.
putting that forward. Because like it again, it introduced me to Web3, and like I really hope the best for it. Like I hope that these projects like can challenge it. When Hero came off the bat with this already kind of MCP program, I bet that was challenging for VV because it's like they already had this like reward system, kind of laid
Right.
out. And I hope that can like, strengthen them in areas they need to be strengthened in. And right now they're hiring people on there. I think they hired some recent devs, they hired some recent content, they've hired some like I think recruit some type of recruiter. I don't remember what he does, but it looks like they're building, and like how many of these Web3 projects have the finances to pay multiple six-figure salaries to like new employees.
Right.
Like I think they have everything they need to really just step it up and be a big force in the space. Regardless, I'm in Web3 no matter what. But I feel like it's important for those watching that like VV will always have a place in my heart.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think everybody knows that about you, Chris. And how good of a guy you are and how smart you are, man. I think that's why it's funny that we actually haven't done this earlier because we've always been on the periphery. We're in a lot of the same, Twitter groups and Discord groups and things like that. But I think it was just always a matter of like, hey, like let's make this happen, and
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, man. So I think that was killer. I know everybody really appreciates it. If you haven't followed Chris Coffee yet, do so now. All his description and links are in the comments there below. He's got, like I said, a ton of things on the go. He also has a newsletter. Make sure to subscribe to that too. And make sure to get some of his coffee. I'm gonna probably order some after this. I need some. But man, I think it was a really cool discussion. You certainly opened my mind to quite a few things. And I definitely feel as though there's a part 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 coming because I feel
Yeah,
like we
let's
can
get
talk
it,
all
man.
day.
I'm good, man. I'm here. With this new job, I do content marketing for like a company, but like also like I'm constantly making content, being part of content. So like, yeah, let's make it happen, man. Not make it
Yeah.
just a one-time deal.
Yeah, I hate one-time deals, I'm trying to keep the utility and sustainability just like the NFTs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks so much, Chris.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Chad.
Take care, brother.